It's just to show that you don't understand life.
Should I clarify the question further? Like when I ask, like, is it not more of a disguise?
No, I think I don't know. I think I've exhausted the answers that I could possibly give.
Okay, are they putting more material on? You would
more
say
material? That. Yeah, you could say that. If somebody's wearing more clothes, they've got more material on.
Okay, well that's what I mean by when I ask, are they not? Is it not more valid as a disguise? Yes, they're putting more material on. That's the.
Wait, so people in the summer are more valid than people in the winter?
Idiosyncratic. Like disguise doesn't typically mean material. Like if I'm wearing like a big coat, I'm not more disguised than if I'm wearing like.
I guess in the trans context, you could.
Right. So the metaphor is switching. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Wait. You said what?
The metaphor is switching, right?
Oh, the metaphor is switching. I thought you said something about code switching. I was like, huh?
So, like, obviously people in the winter are more disguised than people in the summer. That's just trivially true. I'm just kidding. That's how dumb you guys sound.
Fuck you.
But yeah, it's like it. So it does sound that kind of. Do you know what I mean, Melon?
Well, I'm saying if there's more effort that's being deployed, like you wouldn't say that's more of a disguise. If there's more effort to cover up something, right? Like if there's more effort deployed to cover something up, then that's more of like an intentional disguise. Like that's what I'm saying.
Well, this is like the cover-up thing. That's not. I don't agree.
I would say that you don't. Okay, well then there's the disagreement there. I mean. If you want to get into that, we can. But in my opinion, from my view, gender identity is a cover-up of sex. To some degree. I'm not saying 100%. It is a cover-up of.
Are you hoping? Sex. Are you saying like they hope that you'll never find out? Like.
No.
Like if surveying a bunch of trans people and asking them about their like biological sex, you think they'll be like, "Oh, damn, they got me" or something?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's like a full disguise, but I'm saying like generally being out in public, they do like to present as the opposite sex. Like they.
Yeah, but generally when you're out in public, you like to present as the sex that you were assigned at birth.
Oh yeah.
Like how often do you go out in high heels and a miniskirt?
But I mean, I don't have to. Like I'm not making that much of an effort. I would say, like in that instance, to conceal. So it's naturally given to me, right? Like I don't have to inject myself with hormones or anything of that nature.
Yeah. But if like let's say that let's say that there's like a dress code for a party or something. Like you're gonna have to like you're not just naturally looking like dapper all the time. You're gonna have to get a haircut to fit some social standards. You're gonna have to like trim your facial hair to fit some social standards. Like you change your appearance a lot based on how people think that you fit in social roles, and that's just obvious.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, so there's not really something that's not so coextensive to what like a trans person might do. They have this thing that they want like a social setting to perceive them as, and so they do the motions that mimic or not mimic. They like commit to the roles.
They're trying to mimic the opposite sex. You would say. I
want to say Melon isn't doing anything prescriptive here. He's purely just doing descriptive.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not doing anything prescriptive. And plus, like, I've conceded multiple times before that, like, society at large does have some sort of performance or whatever from how they intend to be perceived or whatever. I'm just saying that, like, gender identity is sort of like a cover-up of their current sex. Because gender identity, like, look, like, gender identity, man, your sex alignment, man, like, it's
But you agree. So wait, I just came in. But you would grant that sex and gender are different, right?
Yes, I would grant that. But I'm saying that gender identity is sort of like a performance of particular sex traits. I would say.
Okay, you're saying like oftentimes gender is like an extension of your sex, just acted out socially, or in your words, performed socially. Right, but in trans people's case, it's not going to be the case that they're performing the biological side of it. They're like, quote unquote.
They're performing they're performing as a different sex, right? So their gender identity, like let's say if their gender identity is woman, but their sex is male, they're performing as the opposite sex.
Yeah, but I thought you agreed that gender and sex were different. So just because somebody's gender is in incongruence with their biological sex, why does that mean that they're now trying to perform the opposite of their biological sex?
Well, I think it's clear. I think the intention is clear based off of like the words and such. Like, I mean, I agree that they're different, but I still think like based on like gender identity, like taking words that mean, like say for example, woman, meaning adult human female, which relates to sex. Like and you're using that as gender identity. That seems like a clear indication of a performance of a sex.
Oh, that seems to me like a clear indication of an equivocation on your part. If you think that trans women, by the word woman, mean adult human female, you're just begging the question against their view. Do you understand that?
No, I don't understand.
Yeah, so obviously, well, I guess I'll just ask you plainly then. Do you think that when trans inclusive people say the word woman, that they mean adult human female?
No, I don't think they know what they mean when they
You don't think they know what? Okay, so then, do you think when they say the word woman that they're using a word that means adult human female?
Well, descriptions of like definitions are chosen subjectively, but I would say the consensus on that definition is probably adult human female when you look at it.
Yeah, I would agree that society usually. Yeah, I would agree. There's like a in like certain fields like the medical field, for example, like woman probably means female. Yeah, I would agree. But you're saying that all these people that are saying the word woman, and you're agreeing that the definition is going to be subjective. So whatever kind of
that's what I'm saying. That's why we have to come to a consensus on definitions to not get thrown all over the place. And
yeah, but discussion. I mean, what's not good enough about somebody just telling you what they mean by a word, and then you adopting it for the purposes of that conversation? That happens in debate spaces all the time.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. If somebody tells me what they mean and it's coherent, then I'll be like, okay, great, that's coherent.
Okay, so what about the trans definition of woman being like somebody who commits to roles typically assigned to feminine feminine sex,
like a feminine sex? You mean female? So yeah, basically, I'd say okay, yeah, you're so you're trying to masquerade as a female, great, that's coherent.
Yeah, but do you think that their definition has this masquerade term slipped in there?
Masquerading to me is performing as something, right?
Okay, so you are masquerading as a strong man, right? Or what?
I wouldn't necessarily say that.
Yeah, I don't think trans people would necessarily say they're masquerading as a female.
Well, no, I think he was highlighting the strong man part.
Because obviously if a trans woman thought that they were a female, right, you would think that they're delusional.
If they thought that they were a female, they genuinely believe that they were, that sex.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that obviously can't be what they mean, because most trans people are not delusional.
Yeah, I would agree that most trans people are not delusional.
Okay, so they probably mean something like woman, and woman there is not going to be attached to something like, biological sex.
I think the intention, though, is to pass as the opposite sex. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so is there any, way... Let's because I think that you say that gender...
The intention is, it might not be 100% deceptive, but in some circumstances, it is in the sense that, they are trying to... All I'm saying is that they are trying to pass as the opposite sex. That's what the words that are coming out of my mouth right now translate to.
Yeah, but, there's a difference, in the tone of somebody who says, I want to be socially perceived, how I mentally perceive myself, and I want to trick people that look at me into thinking I'm something I'm not. You seem to be saying something more like the second thing.
I would say, from
Mitch, am I off base here?
No, you're tracking.
Okay. No, we highlighted that earlier whenever we were talking about the implications that come with saying something like masquerading.
Yeah. So the inclination that I get, right? If you injected yourself hormones and you're like dressing up as the opposite sex and you're going out in public, inclination is like, yes, you're trying to pass as the opposite sex in public or something like that.
Yeah, but okay. I have an example. Would you say that somebody who, like, let's say they're overweight and they look in the mirror and they're very mentally unhappy with their, outer appearance, with, what concepts that match onto their, like, mental persona, and let's say that they like, start exercising, they start eating better. Would you say that person is masquerading as somebody who's in shape?
Wait, hold up. I accidentally locked my screen. What did you say?
Yeah, so let's take an example of somebody.
You said something.
Yeah, I'll just say it again. So let's say somebody is overweight, they look in the mirror, and there's a big incongruence with their mental image of themselves versus what physically is in reality, right? And let's say they take this incongruence and they, get on a diet plan, an exercise plan, right? Would you say that this person is masquerading as somebody who's in shape? Like
if they actually transitioned into being
if they got in better shape, would you say they're masquerading as somebody who's in good shape?
No.
Okay, in the same way, because I would say what they're doing is they're taking steps needed to match their outer. So what I'm saying is they're taking the steps needed to match their outer appearance with their inner mental image, right? And that's just what trans people are doing.
Yes, I would say that's the same for trans people as well. I don't.
Okay, then what's then? Okay, so they're not masquerading.
Literally, what I've reiterated to you, what I'm saying though, the words that what I'm saying is that they're trying to pass as the opposite sex, like.
Yeah, but the guy's not trying to pass as a person who's in shape, right?
Wait. Like, never mind. Hold on. Just go ahead. Go ahead. I'll let you go.
Right, but okay, sure. The person is not trying to pass as someone who's in shape. He would have actually gotten in shape. The other person did not transition to the other sex, but they are trying to pass as the other sex.
Wait, but I thought, okay, I'm just gonna. You keep saying that you think sex and gender are different, and then you keep saying things like that.
Yes, they are different, but I'm saying gender identity is typically trying to pass as the other sex.
I agree. Maybe I would agree typically, but let's just say that in cases where that's not the case, you would abandon this masquerading adjective.
In cases where that's not the case, yes, I would abandon the masquerading.
Okay, well, I mean, then now there just seems to be.
Somebody having like trans woman, like saying I am a trans woman or whatever, basically stating that yes, like I'm not a. I'm not a biological woman or whatever. That's an instance of non-masquerading behavior. But I'm saying, like, just basically, like, doing all of this other stuff and, walking about, they're doing this so that they can go in public to pass as the opposite sex that is masquerading.
But why? What's the difference between somebody who wants to pass as the opposite sex, quote unquote, and somebody who wants to pass as, like, the gender woman?
What do you mean? Can you get more specific?
Yeah. In one instance, somebody wants to, because like if I assume by female, like you mean something biological.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't know what it would mean for somebody to try and pretend to have ovaries, for instance. I don't know what that would look like.
Well, I mean, would you know what it would look like to pretend to be somebody that was born with ovaries?
Yeah. Like maybe if you're talking about like being feminine, but that's not biological.
Right, but that would be something typical of a biological sex.
Okay, yeah, but that doesn't mean that. So we're saying that what it means when a trans woman says something like I'm a woman is not that I have ovaries and a cervix, right? They're saying all these other things that sometimes are biologically tied and sometimes are not, depending on social context. That's what it is in alignment with my mental persona.
Sorry, bro. I accidentally locked my screen
You're
again. Could you repeat the last bit?
Yeah. So we're saying.
I'm sorry. I keep doing that.
No, you're good. You're good. We're saying that, when a trans woman says I'm a woman, they're not saying something like I have a cervix or I have fallopian tubes. They're saying like the stuff that makes females, feminine, like women. They're saying that those things that are usually societally attributed, that they align with their mental persona.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so that doesn't seem like it's tied to biology at all. Well, not like at all is probably too strong there.
Well, yeah, I was about to say that. I would not say that at all.
Yeah, but there's a conversation to be had there once somebody accepts that trans like identities are valid over like, you know, are there stereotypes and what things that are, you know, deemed feminine, or like is patriarchy or whatever responsible for that, and like, you know, is it helpful or harmful to embrace things that could be stereotypical in the pursuit of, you know, achieving some kind of image. There's a conversation to be had there, but that's going to be way after somebody stops being like, you know, they're masquerading as females.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, but do you understand my position? Like, are you able to like steel man it for me or anything?
Yeah, I think your position is basically, and then correct me if I'm wrong. Women almost always is directly referencing biological sex. So somebody saying that they're a woman is indirectly or directly saying, I want to pass as somebody who was born as the opposite sex.
Sort of correct, I guess. I would probably change the wording around a little bit, but yeah, I would say that
But
gender identity as a woman, right? Like
Yeah.
the one like the gender woman is like synonymous with a presentation of woman sex.
okay, and you would agree with me that synonymous is too strong there.
What do you mean by it's
Like
too
like
strong?
when I said it's like almost always, and then I backed off that claim. I was like, that's probably too strong. I'm just meaning the majority of times it's associated. Like right there, you said that woman is synonymous with, you know, female sex, or, you know, like presenting as somebody of the female sex. Synonymous there is, you want to say like in a majority of cases or something.
I would say. I mean, sure, we can. I can add some more nuance to it. And
Yeah.
I can say that.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
because there's also a conversation that always gets skipped over in these like spaces where like if you're, you know, let's like say soy boy pilled or whatever you want to say, where you think that trans identities are valid, there's a whole conversation that, you know, the trans community has about like the concept of passing, and if somebody who's passing is any more or less like validated, or should they feel more validated, or, you know, is the idea of passing something that's pressed onto, you know, the trans community, or something that, you know, is validating to the trans community on their own. But I mean that, yeah. So like basically somebody who looks like let's say like somebody who phenotypically is exactly the same as like LeBron James, and then somebody who's phenotypically exactly like Jessica Alba or something, like not knowing what their biological sex is, you're gonna make some assumptions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a more new. Go ahead.
I was focused on it, like I was thinking, because I keep hearing like it's like not deceptive, it's not deceptive, but then like also, well, you know, everybody's deceptive to some degree with like some sort of mask because they're doing some sort of performance or whatever.
Yeah, but that just sounds like some like emo My Chemical Romance get out of jail free card. Where like we all have scars we try to hide, bro. That means trans identities aren't valid, you know?
Well, but I'm saying they are valid. I'm just like, that's like I stated from the beginning. I don't know if you were here at the beginning of this live, but I'm a pro-trans person, so I do believe that trans identity is valid. But I have just been saying that it is like a masquerading like attempt at particular points.
Well, so what I guess a question would be, if you think trans identities are valid, what would you gain from the trans community adopting your semantics?
Because I like for the main problem I have is like the people, because I know y'all would probably say they don't exist, but I've seen plenty of people saying trans women are women and stuff like that, and you could say, oh well, they mean this, but then those people that it's like you have to speak for them, because those people don't know how to elaborate on the literal meaning of what they mean, you know. So then they convolute everything, and then they give fuel for the right wingers that are like, oh look, they're saying that, you know, they're biological women, blah blah blah, and it's just optically like stupid.
No, I agree. I agree on two things there.
So me personally, like from an optic standpoint, I think that saying, oh yeah, well it is kind of masquerading, but like who gives a fuck? We support it, you know. Like it's like it is masquerading, but we're like also straight up telling you. So it's like, we're just having fun. Like it's like I think that would optically.
But I don't think okay. So two things there. I think that you're right. Like conservatives are way better at optics than people on the left. I mean that's just trivially true. Like that's just like a decade of podcasts have told us that they're just better, right, at spinning stuff. But I would say that like you fall victim to the same criticism that you're levying against these like let's just say poor advocates of trans people, where they say trans women are women, and then somebody like Manimal or somebody goes up there and they go, what is a woman, bro? Because if I say woman and I mean table, and by table I just mean my laundry, and by laundry I just mean 50 cents, and by 50 cents I and they can't combat that. Yeah, that looks bad. That looks like people are just saying things for the sake of saying it, right? But I would also say that saying that trans people are masquerading is also bad optics if your goal is to not give people that hate trans people a gotcha moment. Because I hear trans people are masquerading, and I just see like Charlie Kirk, titling a TikTok, MelonPants admits that every day is Halloween for the trans community. A masquerade ball, hashtag get owned. I don't know.
I mean, I would just counter like the conservatives with why would the masquerading be a problem if it's like it's like if you put on a Halloween costume, it's like yeah guys, it's just a Halloween costume, I'm just having fun.
Yeah, but that's a conservative talking point. Conservatives will say, okay, is fool's gold real gold? Like you're saying it's fool's gold. Yeah, you might trick me into thinking it's gold, but it's not gold. Even if I got tricked, and you're giving them that fuel by saying like the other masquerading. If you can't tell the difference between a costume and a real woman, that's on you. Like that's just not good rhetoric. Like if you're trans inclusive.
Okay, so what would you say? Like, say if we described it as like, just saying, okay, simply this, like a performance of the opposite sex. Like you'd say that's a lot better.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't bring sex into it at all because I think that most of the sex and gender thing is where the confusion happens. Like I would just because most conservatives will not admit that there's a difference between gender and sex, even though it's obviously true. So if that happens, I would just give an argument that gender and sex are different, and then we could work from there.
Well, I do think that gender, like when we're referring to like gender as like man or woman, I think that is in relation to sex to some degree, because like a presentation of sex.
Okay, well, okay.
And I think that's what the conservatives are locking onto, and because the left is going, no, it's totally, completely separate. Like even though it's man and woman, gender, it has nothing to do with it. I think that's another like big fuck up optically, in my opinion.
Wait, hold on. I did want to say, Zach, are you still vegan?
Yeah.
Okay, so is MelonPants.
Oh, nice. Well, okay, so we'll like, do you have any? Okay, I'll just give you an argument for why gender and sex are different, because it seems like you're saying that they're like really tied together, and I admit that there's some like overlap, but like, okay, so premise one, if gender is the same as sex, then masculine must mean something like biologically male-like. Do you agree?
If gender is the same as sex,
yeah,
then masculine means something as biologically male.
Biologically male-like, yeah.
No.
What?
Because I'm talking about gender, like referring to man as a gender like assignment, basically, not masculine or feminine.
Yeah, but what would masculine like? What would masculine be picking out for somebody who thinks that gender and sex are the same? What would the word masculine be picking out if it's not something?
I think you're acting as though gender and gender roles are synonymous. That's what I think you're doing right now.
Look,
I would categorize masculine and feminine as gender roles, like as a like.
Yeah, and if somebody thought gender and sex were the same, what gender role would they think? They wouldn't believe in gender roles, right? This is to a person who doesn't think that gender and sex are different at all.
I don't know. I'm getting kind of lost in the weeds here.
So basically, let's just pretend that you're transphobic or a conservative or something, and you think that male means man. Like there's no difference between gender and sex. What would masculine mean if not, having X trait that's present in biological males?
I would describe masculine as like something that's expressive of something that's typically male.
Yeah, that would just be to use gendered language, right? Like,
Right. Yeah, it's. I would say, but I would say categorizing yourself as the gender male is, I think, is like
maybe you're just too reasonable, right? Because you're trans inclusive, but that's just giving away way too much to the trans people side. When you say like, I would say that you're just like fulfilling a role that men usually do. That's just already admitting that you don't have to be a male to do men stuff.
But I've never heard somebody say that masculine is a gender. Like
No.
Like,
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if gender is the same as sex, then masculine must mean something like biologically male-like. Right?
oh, okay. I noticed where I got confused.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so do you agree there so far?
If gender is the same as sex, then masculine must mean what?
Biologically male-like.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Premise 2, no biological woman can be more biologically male-like than a biological man. That just follows, right? Because they're not biologically male.
I'll say yes to entertain
Yeah.
it. Like, I'm still
Okay,
thinking about
yeah,
it.
so premise 3, some biological women are more masculine than some biological men. Do you agree with that?
Some biological women are more masculine than
Than
some
some biological men, yeah.
Like, as in, so
Like- Yeah, like I would just point to like a female bodybuilder versus like a twink from high school or college or something. Yeah.
expressing, yeah.
Yeah. And then so premise 3, because you grant that, is masculine does not mean biological male-like. And since masculine does not mean biologically male-like, then gender is not the same as sex. Like, just like, I could probably like make that better, but that's just off the top of my head.
Well, I'm super confused as to again, because I don't know if you know the context of like I'm a few hours like past my bedtime before I have to go to bed, and I'm confused as to what this has to do with like my points, because I don't know how we got here. But I haven't, like, for me instantly, like, just to clarify, like, I haven't been saying that gender is the same as sex.
I know, but it seems like you're saying that, and then when you use it, you're like, well, they're so heavily tied that you might as well be performing.
I'm saying there's somewhat I'm saying that gender identity is often like it's a presentation of the opposite sex.
Presentation is different than the word you've been using. Presentation, I think I'd be fine with.
Well, we can say masquerading. We can say masquerading. We could say masquerading or presentation interchangeably.
Well, I would say that they're not. I would say that masquerading and there's like some like malcontent there.
Yeah, but can I point out here? I don't know why you took me down that. Like, if you understood that I was saying that like gender and sex are different, like I've agreed with you. I don't know why. Like, I don't know what all of that.
Because you said something like almost always or they're synonymous with like presenting as the biological sex or something.
Well, yeah, I would still say that gender identity is like if we're referring to man or woman, is a presentation of the opposite sex. Hell, I'd even say like masculine presentation is like a presentation of the male sex to like characteristics typical of the male sex. Yes.
Yeah, but saying characteristics of the male sex and characteristics typically ascribed to members of the male sex, there's nuance there that makes it completely different, right? I don't understand what it would mean to act male, like if male means some like, if you MRI'd me, you'd find gonads.
We're saying acting male, like as in what is typically associated.
That's
with what
just
is
gender. So I don't understand why when you're saying that they're trying to masquerade as female. If by female you just mean the traits typically associated to female, that's.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I would say.
But they're not acting like they're not trying to pass off as females, right? Because that doesn't make sense, right?
You don't think that makes sense?
No, I don't. If by female you mean something like if you did an MRI on me, you'd find fallopian tubes. Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. And that's how people who think gender and sex are the same, that's how they use the language. So for you to give them the masquerading as female thing, you're just saying They're pretending like they have ovaries and a fallopian tubes and a cervix. You're just saying that.
No, well, I'm saying in many instances they would be pretending to act as though, like pretending to be as though they were born that way. Yeah.
But born that way, you're just baking in that.
Or to appear as though they were born that way. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're just baking in the societal concepts there and not acknowledging that you're doing that. Like, if you're just talking about strictly biological, right? No social pressures at all. You're only talking about, them pretending to have the anatomy of a female, and that's just almost not the case.
Well, pretending to have the anatomy of a female would be a trait that like entails from like presenting as a female.
I don't know what it means to present as female. I think you're using the word. I think you're equivocating when you use female in one sense, and then when you say pretending to be female. Because female, I'm understanding female to be only biology, no social, no high heels, no long hair, no nothing. Only fallopian tubes, chromosomes, gametes, whatever you want to do.
I specified earlier, like presenting as what is like very typical of the female sex.
That's gender, though. Association isn't biology.
Yeah, well then I think we would agree then. Like that's what that's what I'm saying.
No, well, does it feel like we're having an agreement?
But I think you don't understand like how I'm like tying it together. That's how I'm saying they're related. Like you.
Well, it just seems like in one sense you're saying female and you're referencing biology, and then when you say that they're pretending to be female, you're referencing traits that are typically associated with females, and that's not biology.
That is something that is typically associated with people born with that biology, yes.
Yeah, but that's not people with that biology. Do you understand?
That is like a statistical like congregation of people under that. Yes, that's.
Mitch, do you want to tag back in here? I think I'm.
Well, I don't know if it's maybe a good stopping point because that's exactly. I mean, Joe, that was like play by play the same conversation almost. So it's almost like I think the sticking point is we get to like multiple points of agreement, and then there's this like commitment to the language masquerade, and then you seem to explain it in a way that's like, okay, well then maybe you just mean like gender, but then you repeat this line, which is like you're trying to pretend to be the opposite sex, or you're like...
Both of you guys have already agreed that like many presentations, societal presentations, can be deceptive to some degree, and I'm simply saying the same is true of trans people.
Yeah, but that just seems like, Mitch, doesn't that seem like some like we all have scars, bro, so trans identities are like kind of weird too. Like,
well, I mean, sure. Well, I'm saying sure you can say that, but like you saying that is like that doesn't discount what I'm saying. Like, you're saying, oh,
but it's like you're saying like there are two wolves inside of me and one of them's a little trickster. Like it's like you know.
Well, I mean,
basically what I'm saying, like
at the very least, if
I don't know how that's like an argument against the reality of the situation. Like,
well, I think the reality of the situation, if I can just say one last thing and then I'll actually be done, is like if you're trans inclusive, I think that mostly the pushback you get is on maybe your rhetoric is harmful more than helpful, or isn't as helpful as you think. And I would just say that if you find yourself getting that criticism a lot, there's a saying like, if everybody smells like shit, check your shoes. And I would just say that if you get that criticism a lot, then maybe it's not everybody who talks to you that's wrong. Maybe you're wrong.
Oh, okay. I mean, it was nice talking to you and everything like that.
Yeah, it was nice talking to you too.
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, no harm, and you seem like a nice, articulate guy, and I'd love to talk to you more in the future about this.
Yeah.
So.
W veganism.
Zach is pretty cool. I've had multiple interactions with him in the past.
I've been vegan since, I think, 2017, 2018. Still
oh, nice. You got 3 years on me. I went in 2020.
Melon, you and Zach have to have the objective-subjective debate, because...
Yeah, brother.
Yeah. Mitch, I really just rehashed your whole convo?
Basically, I mean,
damn.
Like, you added some pretty good points, like, on the rhetoric side, because we brought up optics, but I was like, that's a different conversation. But you did also bring up, that if optics is a concern, then the optics here on they're clearly not good either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, conservatives don't need our help looking good at saying hateful shit. So.
Right. Well, yeah. My main concern is just optics for the trans side. So, I mean, if I'm wrong in a particular optical type of way, then I mean, I'm open to it. But I personally don't see it currently. But I mean, I'm open to more discussion around that.
W.
Now you got to get into evolutionary psychology.
Speaking of evolutionary psychology, I read this paper recently that said. Speaking of evolutionary psychology, I read this.
Yeah, I knew he was going to do that.
Take his neck.
Yeah, I was waiting for it. I knew he was going to find any chance to do that. He was scared. He was scared of MelonPants. MelonPants destroyed him. Destroyed him.
Yeah, but yeah, that's basically the crux of like what I'm saying is that